We have 31 billion garments to claim from landfill. We've got a long way to go.
Today, we're speaking with the CEO of Trashie, one of the hottest startups in sustainability, focused on making it easier and rewarding for people to recycle their unwanted clothing, with the goal of eliminating landfill waste in the fashion industry. Kristy is an entrepreneur, a fashion innovator, a sustainability visionary who has worked at top brands like Gap and Banana Republic and has innovated in the fashion industry. And I'm so excited to talk to you today, Kristy Caylor. All right, first, tell people what Trashie is in one sentence or less and what problem you're solving.
Sure. Trashie is a recycling and rewards platform. We really help people recycle textiles in an easy, convenient way and reward them for doing so. So we're tackling the 31 billion garments that typically end up in landfill every year by making something easy and accessible for consumers to really kind of change that end of life behavior.
And tell people what items they can bring to Trashie.
Yeah, so we sell a product called the Take Back bag, which is actually a 2 foot by 2 foot, so it's quite large bag. And customers can fill it up with any unwanted clothing, accessories, sheets, towels, whatever really fits in the bag. We'll take it as long as it's doesn't have like extreme biohazard or soil or anything kind of extreme that we can't recycle. We'll take it back and process it through a pretty detailed sorting and grading process and make sure it stays out of landfill.
Yeah, and tell us a little bit more about what happens when you get those bags back and you get those textiles. Any more details you can provide about where those items go? Because I think some people think, can clothes really be recycled?
The term is actually quite comprehensive in its typical application. So when we say recycled, really we're focused through kind of the lens of circular economy principles on making sure it has a next life. And how do we retain maximum value? So if a garment is a whole garment and it can be worn by somebody, we want it to get to that person. If it's truly reached its end of life, we want to break it down and turn it into something else. And so the idea that we could take every item of clothing in your closet and put it into some big vat and it just gets magically recycled, that's not exactly how it works. We have to take it, we touch every item. It goes through what we call a sorting and grading process, which means that it's inspected. There's a tremendous amount of kind of care and time and attention to say, okay, what's its quality? What's its material? What's its ideal next use case? And it goes into one of 253 grades. So that can be really anything from like kids' clothing or winter jackets or cashmere sweaters or holey denim. And each of those like buckets basically has an end use. So some things can be reused. Some things are downcycled, which is the term we use if it's like chopped up and turned into rags, or it goes through a fiber to fiber recycling process where it comes out as a new yarn. There are industrial utilizations for used clothing like carpet padding and car insulation. But really it's about preserving the value to the best of our ability and getting it to its second life.
And when people send in their Trashie bag, which I just did last night, they are rewarded for that Trashie bag. You talked about how you're a recycling and a rewards platform. So tell us a little bit about where people can sort of reclaim their Trashie cash and what they can use that for.
Yeah, we're building out and increasingly adding kind of merchants and partners on the rewards platform. But the idea is that you can take that kind of step, that action, really divert your clothing waste from landfill, get rewarded for it, but spend it at various merchants. So it's not just more clothing all the time. We have things like movie tickets and DoorDash and Uber Eats. And so really kind of allowing the consumer to choose where they'd like to spend that value in the form of a reward. And it can be for more clothing. It could be for home goods. It can be really cross-category, which is a nice, kind of added benefit to doing the right thing.
Do you have any kind of like data on what types of items are being sent in most often, or any kind of insights about what people are sending through the bags?
We collect all the data. So basically, we know exactly how much we've collected by the pound. It's all weighed. We know where everything goes. So we keep track of those 253 grades. Uh, it really depends a little bit on seasonality. So we'll in certain seasons see mostly women's wear, like at the end of summer. Kind of back to school timing, we'll get a lot of kids' clothes as people think about like re-upping for their next season. After the winter is where you'll see, the spring clean come with coats and things like that. So it's not any single use, like I not single category item that we get all the time. There are a lot of t-shirts, that's pretty common. But it varies by seasonality and it shifts and changes. So
And what is the relationship now between Trashie and 4 Days?
yeah, they coexist. 4 days we launched really with the same intention to drive innovation through the lens of circularity and a circular economy. We started with more of a product focus, which was, how do you make circular products? And we worked on kind of sustainable material development and getting those products back and putting them back into a recycling process. And so 4 Days lives as a sustainable marketplace. We've aggregated products that we feel like, have great sustainability embedded into them, whether it's supply chain or the way been made or who made them. And we allow customers to recycle those products whenever they want consistently. We actually developed the take back bag while building 4 Days because what we discovered is that everybody just has so much stuff. And so while it's nice to recycle the one t-shirt you purchased from us or the one pair of jeans you purchased from us, most of the time we found that customers just have a pile. It's like just a pile and they're like, it's big. How can you help me with this? And that's where the take back bag actually emerged as this very kind of useful product for the problem of stuff. And it took off really from a market sizing perspective. We found that it was kind of an everybody product. It's very accessible, it's very easy, people can relate to it. And that's when we started to build the Trashie platform around that to say, okay, rather than being a niche sustainable marketplace, which 4 Days still is, how do we really build a marketplace for these rewards that can touch everybody's daily lives, and bring that to kind of a larger mass consumer.
Right, because you can use your Trashie cash on 4 Days if you want to purchase a more sustainable product. So that's a good option as well. I'm curious, just what you said about stuff. Number one, like, is it possible to make a successful business around recycling or upcycling people's stuff? Is one question. And the other question is, do you ever worry with circular programs, which are becoming more popular at every company, right? Every retailer, whether people feel more of a license to buy more stuff if they know that it can be recycled or upcycled, and sort of how you think about that as an innovator in the space.
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of starting with consumption patterns, like we've seen an uptrend in unit consumption over the course of the last 20 years. So I don't think it's the cause and effect. If you have a take back program, you're seeing consumption go up. I think you're seeing consumption go up. And so take back programs are really, really essential because the waste stream is growing and kind of the quality of products, with the fast kind of turn of fashion and perhaps less longevity, you're just seeing that turnover happen more and more. And so I think that our view is if we can catch that on the back end and make people kind of conscious that they have this stuff, which it's a little bit like I'm looking at it, I'm putting it in a bag. We found that consumers become actually more aware of what they have. And so it's not really a license to overconsume as much as it is a conversation around sustainability that we can start to have in an easy, non-confronting, meaningful kind of value add way. And hopefully that gets people mindful, oh, maybe I don't need as much because I don't want to throw out as much. And so that's the role we play there is really bringing people into this concept of circularity that can actually feel quite difficult to understand or like not relevant to my life. It's like, oh, that's over there. That's hard. And if we can bring that closer and be like, no, you can do it. At least it's starting that dialogue with a consumer that often has never really thought about sustainability as, something that they relate to or participate in all the time. So that's that piece of it. I think the business model and really how you create a sound scalable business is understanding where you're creating value and where the market is deriving value from this. And I mean that through the lens of our partners. Like how are they getting value from participating in this? How are customers finding value from participating in this? And so for us, it's really the whole puzzle that works together to make this work. So it's the recycling and the rewards and the commerce component and the fact, that we're selling a bag and getting the materials back and then driving people, to new transactions. Like all of that kind of works together in unison. If you extract pieces of it, it's harder to make that work because you're not really leveraging like the power of the kind of consumer demand. So that's how it works for us. I think all things being equal, recycling processes are not like super high margin businesses. It's a lot of labor, it's a lot of effort, it's a lot of infrastructure in that sense. So just pure, processing of old product is definitely intensive, but it's valuable and worth it. It's
Yeah,
why
and
we're
I mean,
here.
we've definitely reported on so many businesses that have actually are making a profit from their re-commerce businesses because they're able to sell merchandise that they maybe wouldn't have sold otherwise, or they're able to sort of like offer a new thing, and not to mention it's sort of becoming table stakes. I think for most brands to have some kind of re-commerce service. I'm curious, like having worked at
Yeah.
Gap and Banana Republic and so many big brands, are you optimistic about what you see in the space from a circular economy perspective?
I think it's still actually very early days. I think people are at least committed to it. I think the challenge for the industry is how do we make it work from a business economics perspective? How long does it take to return? I think you're right. Like re-commerce is becoming table stakes. I think that consumer preferences are changing, which is really the most powerful thing from my view, which is if you're going to opt to buy secondhand over new, if you're going to be mindful about the material choices you're making when you purchase, or you're going to be mindful about longevity or repair, like those are the changes that happen in lockstep with the industry changing, because if the consumer's dollar is there, the industry will show up there too, which I think is promising. But I still think it's early days. We have so much work to be done, so much to build, innovation to kind of implement on the recycling side. Like we have 31 billion garments to claim from landfill. We've got a long way to go.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of those partnerships that you mentioned because you guys, I was so excited to see Walmart carrying the trashy bag. So I'd love to hear. It seemed like it sold out in like a flash on Walmart. So I'd love to hear how that went and if you're going to be continuing to work with them, as well as any other big partners you can talk about.
Yeah, I mean, that's the exciting part about bringing this product to market in a way that appeals and is accessible. Bringing it to Walmart and the Walmart consumer was an amazing moment for us. And the fact that, the Walmart team sees the value in it, they're making the kind of effort and putting the investment in to bring this to their consumer. But really at the end of the day, the consumer's response to it was overwhelmingly, just fast and positive. And the I think what we talked about before, getting into the home, like getting in new consumer group into this behavior is really, really powerful. So yes, it's a big focus for us to continue those kind of mass market, large scale partnerships. We have some exciting ones coming down the pipeline this year. I think we'll be announcing a few of those in about a month, so not quite yet. But we're expanding the programs as they stand today, really making sure we can continue to reach new consumers and bring people into this kind of behavior.
That's super exciting. I'm curious how much how much more scale you guys can manage with all these. I'm assuming you got a lot of bags coming your way.
Oh my gosh, I should send you pictures. We have so many bags. We actually, yeah, so many bags, which is great. That's the whole point.
Yeah, please send us pictures and keep us
Yeah.
updated. And then you partnered with Kingston Stockade Football Club around a big initiative to kind of expand collection of items that need to not go to landfill. So tell us a little more about what you're doing this summer with them.
Yeah, so an activation with them around the take back bag and clothing recycling, which is it's so great for us to get out into the community. We love doing in person take back bag events. It's just wonderful, like the pure visual of seeing people show up and fill bags and they pile up, and it's just this incredible kind of moment where I think people also connect over it. It's really nice. And so that's happening this summer alongside the football club, and they've been really, excited to bring this to their fan base and their audience. And that's another pillar of kind of our community engagement is really bringing this out into the world. It's not, just something you buy online. You can do this as a community together.
Kristy, how do those take back bag collection events happen? Like if somebody wanted to do that in their local community, or if another brand wanted to do that, how do those actually work? Do you tell people ahead of time and then they bring all their stuff, or are they just picking up a bag? Or maybe explain a little more how that works.
Yeah. So if anybody ever wants to host one, we have an amazing kind of coordinator of these events. We will send out communication in advance and say, this is what we're doing. Bring your product. People can bring product and fill up a bag on the spot. Often we'll hand out bags, as kind of a prize or an award, or like for the first ticket holders, so you can actually get a bag. And it's really fairly simple to execute. So if anybody's ever like, this would be great for my school, or this would be great. We actually had someone give this as a gift for their bat mitzvah. Like, it's so fun to see that kind of, engagement where it's like, oh, this is a nice thing we can all do together. So reach out. We're here anytime. Hello at
Okay,
Trashie.
I will do that because I do a ton of like clothing swaps and stuff at our school, and a lot of times we end up with stuff
Yeah,
that maybe can't be swapped. So it'd be interesting to hear how that happens. Um, yeah.
absolutely. The kids' clothes, it's a big one for that. Yeah, we've had them all over the country. So
What was sort of your light bulb moment? Like why have you been in this space for so long, and why are you so passionate about it?
yeah, my light bulb moment. I mean, you had mentioned I spent a number of years at Gap, and that's obviously an enormous business with a really considerable footprint. And I was fortunate to move through the company in leadership roles and really get exposed to kind of the supply chain component of what we do and just the enormity of the fashion industry. And it's, I think 120 billion garments are made every single year. And when you think about that, and you're like, there's so much energy that's put into the design, the material selection, the manufacturing, the packaging, the shipping, the shelving, the e-commerce, all of the activities that go into getting a t-shirt to somebody. And we're throwing 85% of that in the trash after one or two uses. To me, I was just like, what are we doing? And I've been on that side of like the design, the production, the manufacturing, the delivery, and there's so much that goes into it, from a human resources and a raw materials and a shipping and a footprint. And it feels crazy to me. Like, I'm like, that just doesn't seem like the future. And then you look at obviously the impact components and what we're doing on the raw material side, what it requires to maintain that level of production long run. And we need innovative solutions. There must be a way to get these precious materials back into circulation, to find value from them, to preserve that for as long as possible, and then meaningfully mitigate what we need to make new. So I'm passionate about it because I think in systems. I just think it's the way we need to move as a society. And if we can do that in a positive, uplifting, value add way where it doesn't feel hard or difficult or depressing, where it feels uplifting and fun, that's what we're here to do, to really bring that energy to it.
Having worked in the fashion industry at many of those brands, is there something you wish the fashion industry would quit or would start doing if you were running everything?
Oh gosh. we don't we don't have enough time.
One thing.
No, I mean, I think that the fashion industry, has the opportunity to present innovation to the world, and I think taking some risks with that is important. It's hard because there are a lot of people sitting on the sidelines ready to like point fingers or poke holes, and I think that's tough. So while there's good work being done behind the scenes, it's not always told to the consumer like, "Hey, we're working on this. We're not perfect, but here's this progress." And I think the industry finding new ways from a business model perspective to innovate is really essential. So I think trying those things out, finding new materials, new supply chain strategies, new business models, partnering with people to get there is really a huge opportunity.
What's the innovation that you're working on that you're most excited about?
We are working actually on enhancing our impact metrics and impact dashboard. And I think bringing a level of traceability to this kind of afterlife component of product, like the post consumer world, it's just not that developed yet from a platform perspective, and that's something I'm really excited to start to put together. And that's data, that's tracking, that's tracing, that's sharing impact, validating impact. We're at kind of like base camp on being able to do that, which is still better than the majority of the market. But I think that's something that we're deeply committed to and excited about.